Yo, Kimmy, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh shit, I'm having the same problems I was having before with the choppiness. Fuck. Damn it. Okay, one, I did not. Let me see if I can do that now. If not, I will end the stream and go live again because I do think that's important. I'm having issues with my system. Remember the choppiness that we had last time? My computer's doing that again. It is moving so slow and so choppy. And now that I know it's me, I'm trying to fix that. Trying to close everything that I can. So give me a second. Discord. Fuck. Oh my God. What can I close? Tina was good. Oh man, it's so hot in here. Ooh, folks, if you can hear us, thank you for hanging in there with us. I mean, talk about tech issues. Let's see. We're almost there though. We're almost there. Tina, if you can hear me, thank you for joining us this evening. What am I looking for? See, I can't talk and think at the same time. Okay. Wow, my computer is moving so slow. I don't know what's happening, but that's not gonna work. Luckily, I won't be doing too much talking today. Wow.
Are you waiting on me?
Yo, Kimmy, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the problem is my computer is moving so slow and I'm trying to add Instagram and it is taking forever because it is moving at a snail's pace. And I feel like the more that I try to do, the worse it's getting. Are you able to do it on your end?
See if I can do it.
I can send you the string. Well, are you already logged into Instagram?
I don't think I'm on Instagram for the black and sick one. I'll see.
I mean, this is bananas. I don't know why the hell my computer is moving like this. Even after a restart, it's like, did I add something to it? Nothing is open. I'm so confused. What did I change? Oh God. I mean, I think I got it.
You think you got it? It sent you the code if you want me to do it.
No, it didn't send me anything. Maybe it's in the notifications. No, it didn't send me
Can't understand.
anything.
No?
Mm-mm. I'm still working on it. I mean, I have the stream key now, but it's just taking
You're
forever.
choppy. I can't understand you.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix that. So luckily I'm just doing an intro
Oh,
and
no.
I'll be out. Okay, I can't do it. I can't do Instagram. It literally just keeps going away every time I hit go live. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But okay. Let's just get started. Uh if you're joining us on YouTube, I definitely appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all's patience as well. Let me see if I can remove this. There we go. Okay, I'm not gonna be here too long. What up, y'all? Smalls here. Woo, Waheguru Ji Kakasa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Smalls here. My pronouns are she, her. Coming to you from Chumash and Tongvaland. Uh, this is a wild day. I mean, I was just thinking, wow, this is so chill. Everything's going well. And then we just started having tech issue after tech issue after tech issue. I'm probably really choppy right now, so I'm not going to say too much. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening, a couple of things happening with the deaf and hard of hearing community. As you all know, this is a space for advocacy, and we want to use it exactly for that. And so, this issue, I found out about it a few months ago at the end of last year, and I thought, when I saw it on Instagram, I thought the person had to have been mistaken because I just couldn't believe that it was a real thing happening, and yet it is a real thing happening. The ACLU was threatening to sue. I don't know, it was the Department of Education or something like that. Um, Essentially trying to take away access to sign language, take away access from deaf and hard of hearing students and children. It is bananas. Long story short, I started talking to Kimmy here, who is, as y'all know, our stage manager, helps us out a lot with Black and Sick, who has a sister who is part of the deaf community. And so, and Kimmy as well, part of the deaf community in the sense of like advocacy and activism and things of that nature. And so we got to talking. We spent about like 4 hours talking about this, doing some research, and here we are. Um, we thought that this was an issue that we needed to touch on, that we needed to bring to your attention. The ACLU has backtracked a little bit, but nevertheless, it has brought us here. It has brought us here, and so we're gonna spend not too long, but we're gonna spend today's stream talking about advocacy in the deaf and hard of hearing community, and Kimmy is really gonna lead this stream, and I'm gonna actually let her do most of the introductions, mostly because who knows how much of y'all how much of this y'all were able to get because of what's happening with my system and it being choppy or whatever. So um thank you for being here though, Sandy. I really appreciate you. Appreciate you giving us your time, your energy, your effort, your intellectual labor. I'm definitely grateful for it. um and Kimmy, if you're ready, I'm gonna let you take it from here and let me know what you need. If y'all don't see me on screen, I'm gonna still be here, but I'm gonna really let them do their thing. All right. Also, if you guys hear silence, you'll be all right. There's going to be some signing happening. You'll be fine. Enjoy.
Okay. So, hello. I'm Kimmy, name sign Kimmy. I'm so proud and excited to introduce my sister, Sandy. Sandy. And like other languages, you can't speak two accurately at the same time. You can't speak Spanish, English the same time. You can't use ASL and English at the same time. And so the way I'm signing right now, it's not proper ASL. Don't learn from this. We will put information in the description box. So if you want to learn about ASL, get free information, words, dictionary lesson stuff will be available. But since Sandy's here to give the information, she's been deaf since she was a toddler, like 2, I think, right? Grew up, she's part of the deaf community. And currently, she's a deaf mentor and she works in early language intervention. And so she's the one who has the information, the experience, the knowledge. She'll be the one talking. I'll voice for her. But when I'm asking questions, I'm not using my voice after this again, because you don't need to hear from me. And if you don't understand what's happening for part of the stream, it kind of gives you a little bit of the experience of the deaf community. So hi. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Sandy. My name sign is like this. My sister mentioned that I am deaf, a deaf mentor with Sky High Institute. And what does that mean? I work with families that have children from birth to 5 years old with different hearing levels. So I help them learn sign, visual language, an early visual communication, help them. I help introduce them to a deaf world and the culture. Learn sign language, help them with that, of course. Deaf culture, deaf history. Just anything and everything. I work partially with Sky High parent advisor. That's my hearing partner, colleague. I work with child on listening and speaking, hearing technologies like cochlear implants, Baha, hard bone, bone, the hearing aids. Also, the toddler. I'm also a toddler paraprofessional at the Atlanta Area School for the Deaf. And I work with 1 and 2-year-olds, deaf children. I have several hats that I wear, but basically, I'm in early language intervention for language acquisition for deaf and hard of hearing children from birth to 5. And why that age range? because there's a gap between birth and entering kindergarten. Many families of deaf and hard of hearing children don't sign. So they don't know what to do. They have a deaf baby. Sometimes they think, oh, hold on. When they get into kindergarten and to school will take care of it. It's fine. No. When they're there, they don't know their ABCs. They don't know their numbers, colors. And so they're behind. They're delayed. And they really can't catch up. So we intervene and provide early language, any language, listening, visual, sign, writing, pictures, smoke signals, anything for full accessibility. If you don't acquire a language before the age of 5, then you lose very important window of time. Your mind, before then, it's a sponge before the age of 5. Soaks all the information up. It doesn't care how. It doesn't care how you get the language. Doesn't matter. Your brain, it's not choosy. So your brain, the neurons, they have to build the neural pathways. If not, then the sponge, trying to think of a way to, it dries up. Dries out, becomes hard. And you can pour water into it and it just doesn't absorb the same way. So it's important to have language, the ability to learn. We say that we prepare deaf and hard of hearing children to enter into kindergarten and to really, so that they're ready to learn, so that they can read and they can write, communicate. Currently, less than 10% of parents of deaf and hard of hearing children can sign. Many deaf and hard of hearing children, even if they want, they try to use different technologies, they pay attention, learn, they can't hear. Or they don't realize that they're not hearing efficiently. For example, Australia. Last year in Australia, they recently learned, that their children that had cochlear implants, like hundreds of them with cochlear implants, that they were helping them learn, practicing, doing this, speech, talking, and they weren't doing well. What do we do? Oh, they realized that the cochlear implants were not programmed properly. So what does that mean? The cochlear implants put a microprocessor in your brain, connect it, your brain, so that it can receive sound. It's a device that kind of listens and gets signals to your brain. And the programming means how well the neural systems for each individual brain can receive it. The processing sound, learning, what is that? Oh, those children weren't. It wasn't programmed right. None of them. None of the service providers noticed it. Years and years and years of therapy. And those children lost all of those years. Now it's having a crisis. A whole generation of deaf and hard of hearing people were education deprived. The ACLU started suing the Department of Education in Delaware. Why? Because they said too many deaf and hard of hearing children were going to a deaf school. Too many of them. They were learning ASL and focused on it. Oh no, they're not speaking it well enough. It's not good. They're not providing good, fair education. So the complaint, they dropped it. It didn't go through. Why? Because the deaf community was like, hey, what's up? There's no one asked us. No one asked us anything. What is wrong? Oh, you don't think deaf and hard of hearing children get equal access to listening and speaking? Yes, they do. Wait. Wait a minute. So they collected evidence, files, cases, analyzed a whole bunch of them, and provided it to the ACLU. ACLU read it. Said, oh, doesn't matter. They posted on their Instagram a silent apology. No. Invisible apology. The ACLU issued an invisible apology. So they posted, oh, hey, sorry, we made a mistake. But they didn't announce. They didn't share Just no post. Sorry about that. Finished. And what's interesting about that, about the ACLU, the person who worked there and advocated for it is the leader, the director of an LSL advocacy group in Delaware. He's the one that requested and brought up the complaint. So, conflict, interesting. LSL. So AVT, LSL, and oralism, it's the same thing. It's a different name. So oralism, it's focusing only on listening and spoken language. They're not allowed to sign. They're not even allowed to practice lip reading. They can't have a visual language. They can't have captions. There's no, it's like pretend you're not deaf. Don't ask for special accommodations. Just sit closer. No. Actually, can't do that. You can hear fine. Use the technology. LSL limits to speaking and listening for deaf children. That's it. One, in deaf schools have speech. They have speech therapy. They have listening that's provided at least 3 times a week. They go to speech. They learn that to the best of their abilities. They listen, they see, they have the cochlear implant. If it's successful for them, great. They learn how to use it. If not, okay, so we'll try something different. So, want to try this? Don't want that? Okay, that's fine. We don't have to do that. Sign language. Some deaf people don't have hands. They don't have hands. And so I know 1 or 2 people who have birth defects. They have a thumb. That's it. So they're not able to. They need more than sign language. So they're accommodated at the deaf school with education. in the main schools or the deaf schools provide all the captioning that's possible. They let individuals choose what works best for them. At the deaf schools, they have listening and speaking, the technology, sign. Some of them have cued speech. But LSL is nothing except speaking, listening. So it's very restricted. LSL was set up by Alexander Graham Bell, who he believed that people in America, people in English-speaking countries, needed to speak English. Doesn't matter if you come from a different country. If you come here and you speak a different language, not here. You speak English here. Sign language, that's not English. So you have to keep that in mind. That explains more of LSL. And another thing to think about, at least 1/3 of deaf and hard of hearing people have an additional disability. Many deaf and hard of hearing people are autistic. Some have Down syndrome. Some are blind too. So it makes sense. We call it Deaf Plus. In a smaller classroom setting, they have better trained people, more options, more language, materials. So there's more things. If you don't understand a student, or if a student doesn't understand, don't understand, you can use AAC. It's a tablet with pictures. And they prefer to do that instead of sign language. One thing that's interesting is deaf babies. No, I misspoke. Something on my mind. Forget that. A hearing baby is more likely to get to learn sign language. So parents who can talk to them earlier with baby signs before the hearing baby is able to speak, they learn baby sign language, milk, more, food. That's more likely than a deaf child. Deaf children are more restricted in getting sign language than hearing children are for learning it, because it's fear that sign language will make it harder for those babies to learn to speak, to write. And when they've done research on it, they've showed it's the opposite. They have a group with cochlear implants, of children who have cochlear implants. They do the speaking and listening only. And then they had a group with cochlear implants, speaking, listening, and sign language. Which group scored better on tests? The children with access to more language. Way better. The cochlear implant only listening, only speaking, they struggle. A lot of people don't realize the fatigue to listen and listen and listen and work and work and work and understand all day, every day. Most adult deaf and hard of hearing friends take it off by lunchtime to give their brain a break. They need a nap. Imagine if you're a little kid and trying to get it all in like that. The best thing that you can do to advocate for deaf and hard of hearing people that I'm aware, or is to be aware that we're there. Learn your ABCs, your manual ABCs in sign language, finger spelling. It's only 26 letters. If you can finger spell, it opens up, it takes away barriers, it opens so many doors. So right now, we're enjoying more exposure, the deaf community is, in the media. It's nice. But at the same time, it's not realistic sometimes. Not many of us can lip read. We can't lip read that well as they show in the media. And even the best lip readers, they're lucky if they catch 60% of the words. Most of it is filled. Most of it is fill in the blank with lip reading. Hearing technologies can help. They can assist with sound. But it doesn't make the deaf person hearing. Still, they're still deaf. They're trying to fit in. Being deaf is a spectrum. Like being blind. It's a spectrum. One deaf person is different from any other deaf person. And each deaf person has different life journeys. Inaccessibility. There's little things that a lot of people take for granted. And they think, oh, it's simple. Easy fix for the deaf people. Like movie theaters. I haven't gone to one in a while. You can't go 5 minutes without problems. The last one I went to, the captions, they weren't on. For almost 2 hours. 2 hours later, after the movie was over and everyone was leaving, I was still trying to get my money back. So I left, didn't get it back because the money went through a third party. So I couldn't get it back. They told me, oh, call them to get a refund. I had to talk to a live person. I couldn't leave a message. And when it does work, it works. The captions are up there. Sometimes it'll skip every fifth line. Or every time I go to the movies, I get at least 2 sets of caption technology. So if this one goes down, then I'll use the second or third one. Have another one back up, see which one is better. No. Okay, yes, that's better. So maybe sometimes they won't work, others will. So just simple things. I want to go see a movie, but I gave up. I don't bother anymore. IEPs, they're individualized education plans. They're pretty hard to get. You have to already be behind your peers in order to get in accommodations. If you have sign language, you want a sign language interpreter? But you haven't suffered? If you want an interpreter, you need to be able to prove that your grades are suffering to get an interpreter. You need to try without an interpreter. Because I'm a deaf mentor, I got a message. Only one of my families has a child that got an IEP. And I have 8 other children that I work with that didn't. Because they were doing fine. They were doing well on their assessments, they're fine. And why were they doing fine? Because they had speech and listening therapy and sign language instructions. They were getting physical therapy, help, assistance. They were getting a variety of help. So, cool. Better. That's better. It's good. Okay. Well, now you don't need any of those things then. It seems to go against your gut instinct. Like taking off the training wheels. Most people who decide on IEPs, it's the school, principal, special education director, counselors. IEPs are created after families leave me, so I'm not as familiar with that. A lot of decisions for deaf people are made for deaf people, not by deaf people. Ironically, we have to fight to get a say, to have an opinion. Every year, there's a big convention. It started 80 in the 80s. In Milan. So the conference started in the 80s, and it was run by hearing people. So hearing people ran the convention. 164 people there, all hearing, except for one. In the years since, it's almost all hearing people. All the sponsors are mainly hearing, oralism, cochlear implant companies. Pharmaceuticals. But recently, this year, Gallaudet University won the bid to run it for the next 5 years. So Gallaudet University is the only liberal arts university for deaf people in the world. They're very much supportive of the bilingual approach. Bilingual means, like, most commonly English and sign language. So we're really excited. It means that the conference that is called Early Hearing Detection Intervention, EHDI, it means that for the next 5 years, the conference will be more inclusive of deaf people in the deaf culture. Sign language will be provided. There will be accessibility to sign language and speaking and listening language skills. And even Gallaudet University didn't have a deaf or hard of hearing president until like the 80s, I think. They got a hard of hearing president. Finally. So that's one example of many deaf and hard of hearing organizations and schools. Legalization, policies, decisions are made by old white hearing men. So I think we need to continue being vigilant. Because nobody told us that the ACLU situation was happening. We noticed that. We're like, wait a minute, what? So we need to continue to watch the ACLU and watch out for each other and ourselves. So I'm afraid that might have opened up a stage for more attempts, I think. Because there is profit to be made in hearing technology and cochlear implants. Speech therapies. There's a lot of profit to be made. But there's no profit in sign language. But deaf gains so deaf gains are a benefit that a person can have as a result of being deaf or having a connection to the deaf community. One big deaf gain that most people don't realize: you all have access to captions. Since 9/11, more TV sets everywhere. Those TVs almost always have captions. So now everyone can see what's happening, what's going on, without having to listen or hear. They can read, oh, that happened because of captions. Captions were made for deaf people. Another deaf gain: football huddles was invented by a deaf people. Deaf football players at Gallaudet University, they didn't want the opposite team looking at them and to see them signing, and then they could figure out what it means. They could look and spy on them, see what they were doing, what they were planning. So the deaf team would huddle to sign. Now, everyone does it that way. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. And Smalls.
I'm waiting on y'all. I'm good.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, she's gotta be taking care of little kids tomorrow morning, doing her job. I'm so proud. So I gotta get her out of here for now. There's so much more that could be said. I'm so proud of you. But do you have Smalls, do you have questions or no? You good?
No, because I know she needs to get out of here, so I don't even want to keep her too long. But hopefully, maybe we can have her back sometime when we have less technical difficulties. That would be fantastic. I've learned so much already. So I would love to have Sandy. I would love to have you back sometime if you got time. I appreciate your time, your energy, your intellectual labor, your education. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
I had fun.
Nice. Happy to hear it. Yeah, same Tina. All right, cool.
Okay, so are you discussed having other things that you were doing, right? Should
Yeah. I wanted to
talk
talk
about
to you
stuff?
if you had a little bit of time, Kimmy. I wanted to talk to you about a couple things regarding like everything we just talked about, everything we just learned from Miss Sandy here. So yeah.
She said she can stay a few more minutes too if you
Oh,
want.
sweet. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me check and see if we have any questions here. Uh Tina says, yes, that would be great if you have the time to come back, Sandy. I totally agree with that. Let's go through some of the questions that came in real quick while she was speaking. Destiny B said, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I believe that I saw that come in around the time that you guys were talking about what was happening with ACLU. And yeah, so yeah, I agree. Old white men are everywhere, aren't they? Yeah. Um, I was thinking about capitalism. I was thinking about when Sandy said there's no profit in ASL. It's very much the thing that we were dealing with sickle cell, right? So for those of you who don't know, I was born with sickle cell disease, which is a genetic blood disorder. And despite the fact that it is one of the most common genetic disorders in the US. We heard time and time again from pharmaceutical companies that there was no profit to be made in finding treatment or a cure, right? And so it's fascinating. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's not surprising that that is a common issue, right? That there's no profit to be made in sign language or in ASL. So that gave me some things to think about, right? Kind of always goes back to the money. And then the thing about football huddles. Whoa, football huddles, had no idea, but also not surprised. Um, Again, that reminds me of things that have happened with sickle cell. So they have studied sickle cell. Keep this in mind. Researchers and scientists have studied sickle cell for years, and they have used it to find treatments for other illnesses. They have used it to understand genetics and the human genome. But because there was no profit to be made in finding a treatment, finding treatment or a cure for sickle cell, they focused on the illnesses that there were profits to be made. We can go into that another time, but I find that fascinating as well. Let's see. Upside Down says, thanks, Destin. I think she's talking to Tanya D here. Thanks, Destin. My signing isn't great, but I am struggling along. Yeah, same here. For those of you who don't know, I started studying sign language in college back in 07 and stopped using it and lost so much of it. And I am remedial at best. I'm kind of surprised I'm able to keep up with any part of this conversation, but this has definitely inspired me to get my shit together and do better. So I feel you on that. Let's see. Tanya D says, interesting and fun fact. I agree. I learned a number of things here, which it's not that I wasn't expecting to learn things, but I love learning new things. Love learning new things. And I've taken notes of the things that I have learned because I'm like, oh, it's time to do some research. It's time to go down a learning rabbit hole. So I'm excited about that. Let's see. You're doing great, Upside Down. Let's see. Tina says, oh, yep, I think I got that. Wow, I didn't know any of that. Thanks so much, Sandy. Agree. Upside Down says, I'm impressed. I'm pretty sure that I'm impressed was about Sandy. I'm pretty sure. Then Tina says, oh yeah, yes, that would be great if you have the time to come back. Absolutely. I would love that. Let's see. Thank you so much, Sandy, from Tanya D or Destin to B, alias. Destin to B says, I thought ASL would be very profitable. Okay, so it's not a question, but sort of a question. Now I think I can sort of see why somebody might think ASL would be profitable, but I didn't know, Sandy, if you had any thoughts on that, or Kimmy, because I know that you're involved. We talk a lot about advocacy in general. If either of you have any thoughts on that, or why isn't it profitable? I mean, I have an idea, but I would love to hear from the experts on that. Like, why isn't sign language or ASL considered? And I'm saying ASL because I wonder if this is a US American capitalism thing, or if sign language in general across the globe is not profitable, right? Because we know that sign language is not the same everywhere, right? So is it sign language in general, or is this more of ASL specific? But yeah, any thoughts on why it's not profitable? Or
I think ASL can be and is profitable in ways like signing time for hearing children, hearing families want to learn sign, or when they made a show. I'm showing my age now, but they had a series called Baby Edison, and they had ASL signing, DVD, sold, made a lot of money there, profitable, movie, TV. Deaf entertaining way to profit, or deaf ASL is an entertaining way to do profit, but I don't want to say entertaining for hearing people, but it's profitable.
yeah.
But for deaf and hard of hearing people, it takes away. Well, it doesn't take away, but it's viewed as taking profit from cochlear implants, taking away profit from audio voice therapies, schools. It's hard and expensive. This year, I have 3 families that moved out of Georgia. They had to move to New York because the audio and voice therapy there is free.
Whoa.
In Georgia, it can cost over $10,000 a year for one child.
Wow. Okay.
It's not profitable for native signers.
Right, right.
Okay. I would think too, trying to think of how to word it, but for there to be profit in deaf people using sign language, it requires hearing parents and family to learn it when they're young. And the majority of hearing families don't. Like Sandy said before, less than 10% of school age kids, right, use ASL at home.
Right. Okay.
I just spoke. So it's interesting. It's a novelty for hearing people who the majority of the market of buying things. But if they're not interested in putting in the effort, then it doesn't work. AVT, LSL, they make families think that they have to choose.
Oh.
Either sign
Right.
or speaking and listening. You can't do both.
Yeah, that's bananas.
If your family fights, then they say, oh, wait till they're 5. Just wait. For now, focus on listening and speaking.
But why though? Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Why? because they want families to pay for the classes. And they know that once kids are 5, it's harder. They've already failed. And so it's bad to say, but I don't think they care.
Yeah.
LSL is private, right? It's companies and organizations. LSL, it's not a government or education or whatever. Right. It's an organization that's for profit, working for profit, and it's more profitable. Do it that way. Yeah, and that's why deaf schools can't. That's why deaf schools, they can't say that we teach LSL.
Right. Okay.
Because we're not certified by LSL, by that organization. We do provide speech therapy. We do provide SLP, which means speech and language pathology. We have those things. We have them.
Yeah.
We teach that. Deaf children are learning to speak and listen. Is this tough? Okay. Me, I can't hear a thing, but I still got speech therapy. So I learned how to talk using in the different parts of your voice, and we do provide that. But really, LSL, they want to confuse people. They're relying on people not knowing.
Jesus. Wow. Okay. So that brings me to 2 things. So we do have a question. I think the question is for Sandy. And I think this kind of all ties together. Kimmy, you and I were talking about baby sign versus ASL, right? And why don't they just teach babies actual sign language? And I, the excuses I've heard is because it's too difficult, which we know is silly and it's foolish, right? Because children who grow up in deaf families or who grow up with sign language learn ASL starting from day one, right? So that's not the case. And then that brings me to somebody said, let me find it. Upside Down says, everyone should learn how to sign. It should be taught in every school, in my opinion, which I completely agree, right? And it makes me wonder, is it worth it to maybe try to push for that? Or at the very least, try to push for access to learning ASL in schools, right? Because I know that in a lot of primary schools, a lot of elementary schools, they're teaching children, they're giving them the option of a second language, right? Starting from very, very young. Like my godson started learning a second language. And I remember being in high school and having the option of a second language, but ASL was not one of them. And I always wanted to learn ASL, and I had to wait till I got to college for that, right? But we know that the younger that you are when you pick up a language, the better, right? And the longer that you're using it, and you can be immersed in a community and things of that nature. So then I guess my question would be, how can we help, right? Like what can we do to, one, maybe push for hearing parents to use regular ASL, like actual ASL, as opposed to these random baby signs that they're making up. And then 2, maybe trying to get it into schools, like not just deaf schools, but schools in general, public schools, private schools, whatever. What's our role? Like what can we do to sort of help this, besides learning ASL for ourselves and kind of just encouraging other people to learn ASL?
I would start with the Department of Education. Right now, we're fighting to get ASL taught to deaf kids.
Right. The fact that that's a fight in general is just mind-boggling to me. You have to fight to give access to ASL to deaf children. It's mind-boggling. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, in my 2's classroom, we have 6 children. and we have 4 languages among them.
Wow.
We have Spanish, we have English, we have sign language, and we have a new student who's joining. His home language is Urdu.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so learning the word for water, learning, it's a little different. My twos class, it also teaches families Tuesdays and Thursdays. They have 2 hours on Tuesday and Thursday. Their sign language classes for the families. And my family classes have interpreters, 2. A Spanish interpreter and a sign language interpreter. So all of us, Spanish, English, sign language. Oh. It's just funny that a deaf school would have multiple languages and multiple interpreters, and not the regular schools. It's just English.
Well, yeah, I mean, that reminds me of the fact that, like, I think those of us in the disabled community or in marginalized communities in general, whether it's a disabled community, deaf and hard of hearing community, whatever, we tend to think about things and sort of be more empathetic and be more considerate of other people, right, than I think the average person does who maybe is not part of a marginalized community. And I guess, so I don't even know how to word this, but anytime like I hear about, and I guess maybe I'm just kind of wanting Kimmy or Sandy, your thoughts on this. Say for example, like Duolingo, or you have a new language learning app, right? Every time I hear about a new one, they say we're gonna have every language there, right? Like I just heard this not too long ago, sometime last year. We're gonna have every language, all the main languages, blah 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 blah. And I immediately went, "You're gonna have ASL?" No response. "You're gonna have ASL?" No response. And then finally I asked again, and they were like, "Oh well, no, we didn't even think about, they hadn't even thought about it. Like they didn't even considered it. It wasn't even like they had languages that are used statistically less than ASL, but had not included ASL." And it's like, it always seems to be like an after, or I guess maybe that's the question that I'm asking. I don't want to make an assumption. I know for me, I often feel like we're often the afterthought in some ways, whether it's the sickle cell community, the disabled community, or even like Black queer people, or like other, multiply marginalized communities. I always feel like we're an afterthought. Like, is that the same? Do you guys have that sort of same experience where it feels like an afterthought?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It feels belittling. You teach parents. How can you teach parents? People think that we don't have anything worthwhile to share. Why would parents want to learn from me?
Wow.
Yeah, so it's tough sometimes. A lot of people, I know a lot of people, I don't remember the number, but their first time meeting a deaf person is when they have a deaf child. So they just never think about it. They don't have to. They don't.
Or at least
don't.
Or at least that's the assumption, right? I wonder how often people assume they've never met a deaf person. Not only because, deafness is a spectrum, as we know, but like there have been plenty of times where, I've been working retail or something where this person maybe has come into the pharmacy time after time after time, and it wasn't until like maybe I signed with them or I asked them a question or something that my coworker said, "Oh, I had no idea they were deaf." And it's like, so I wonder how often it's like the assumption that you never meet deaf people, often because deaf people are having to adapt to the world, right? As opposed to being able to use their first language often. Similar to like trans people, right? People go, "I've never met a trans person." It's like, you don't know that. Like,
Yeah, just because it's not visible. So probably people have seen many people have seen a deaf person, but they don't realize it because they weren't, well, I didn't mean like see, but like really interact, meet,
get to know
realize,
them.
like
Yeah, okay.
get to know them. They don't know a deaf person. They don't interact really. I don't know. It was a video
Or
I
even,
saw. It was a good. I don't remember. I'll have to find it to see exactly what it said, but
or even, I wonder if it's maybe they do, but maybe I think a lot of times people don't care until it affects them directly, right? Like I know that that's the case often for, again, disability, sickle cell, a lot of or even like trans issues, right? Like I'm guilty of that, right? Like as much as I consider myself an advocate for a long time, it wasn't until I had some sort of like relationship with a trans person that I realized, oh, I need to do better. Like I need to start learning. I need to, so maybe it's not even like the meeting, but like I think I get what you're saying, Kimmy, in that like often people don't care about things until it affects them directly.
yeah, that's one reason I said that the biggest thing that you can do for deaf people is learn the ABCs, learn the alphabet in the manual. Because if you can learn to fingerspell, that opens up the world to a deaf person.
Okay, so I have, well, let me see if there's any question, because I have a question about that. Let's get a couple of questions here, and then again, if you guys need to go, let me know when. Tiny D says, I used to work with children, so I really only know basic sign for little ones, like more, please, thank you. But even that I think is awesome. Again, I don't want to speak for deaf people. I know I will just speak to my experience anytime I've used my little bit of sign, especially when I had more vocabulary. The person was almost always grateful that I was even trying, that I was making an effort. So yeah, even that is I think helpful. Let's see. Good work. For me, it's actually a memory game, and of course, vocab interpretation and different is different in every country. Like any language, you have to use it daily to keep it fresh. Exactly. That's the thing. You definitely have to use it on a regular basis to retain it. Um, okay, so here. Oh wait, here's a question. We got a question from Just Me MD says, "Is there an overall universal sign language, or does other countries use ASL as a basic sign?" Which I think we just kind of answered that, but I'll let you guys answer that.
ASL is North American, well, US of A sign language. The United Kingdom, England, they have a different sign language.
Right.
British sign language is different. Other countries have different sign language. But there is an international sign language. Not everyone knows it, but there is one. It's just not very common. Those who know it are very capital D deaf people.
Okay, so we had another question from Tanya D. Do you find more people are becoming interpreters? I see them a lot in my work, but I'm also a social worker.
I see a lot of people going to school for interpreting, but not many succeed. If you become a certified, a working interpreter, it's strict. But again, you have to know the rules, you have to know the certifications. Some people can pass off as interpreters.
Oh.
They're not, but they can pass themselves off. I heard recently ish that interpreters because of the virtual relays that's become profitable for businesses, that they'll have the like call like centers, and those interpreters are supposed to like end a call in a specific amount of time, pick up another one in a specific amount of time. It's not it doesn't make sense for what
It's not
interpreters
conducive.
do.
Yeah.
And if they're interpreting for something really challenging, personal, upsetting, they're not given a break. I saw it on I think it was a Kobe Sewell discussion, that it's really challenging because there's benefits, obviously, of having the virtual that you're able to call in, but for some companies, they've tried to just squeeze out money from it.
Gotcha. Let's see. Okay, so I had a question. And I don't know. So let me just say. So this is the first time that I've heard to learn just the alphabet and even finger spelling would help, right? Which I don't disagree with. However, I've seen content where you have deaf folks sort of making fun of hearing people who just finger spell, right? Like there's a couple of sketches I've seen where and it could be because maybe the person is claiming that they know sign and then they only finger spell, but I have seen a couple of times where the deaf person sort of making fun of the hearing person who's like signing very slowly or like trying to finger spell every single word as opposed to using actual ASL, or even not knowing the proper grammar, right? And just, signing exact English. And I know you can't speak for all deaf people. You can't speak for the entire deaf community. Deaf community is not a monolith. As we always say, no community is a monolith. So I would just wanted to hear, your thoughts. If you could expound upon that, like the idea that it is okay to just finger spell or to use what little bit that you have, or is it going to be more harmful than good, or does the benefit outweigh the possible inconvenience or annoyance of the deaf person? Is it safe to do that? Because I know it kind of made me go like, ooh, maybe I need to learn a little bit more before I start trying to practice and sign with deaf folks. But then the problem with that is then you're not using it as much as you need to be using it to get better, right?
Of course, if you can learn ASL sign language, of course, that's awesome, wonderful, please do. But to be realistic, not many people learn ASL just for fun. So if you're not, or you can't, you don't want to learn the whole sign language ASL, the whole grammar structure and everything, then yeah, at least fingerspell. If you run into a deaf person, sometimes I'll be going down the road in a car. Your screen froze for me again. Sorry. You said you'll be going on. So people ask me for help, for directions. They'll ask me something, and oh, wait, I'm deaf. Like, can you repeat that? And the hearing person will go, ugh. I'm like, sorry, I want to help. I can't help. Like, or like, I know how to get, do you know how to get to the Burger King? I'll say, oh, yeah, the Burger King is, but then I can't tell them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try to type it out for them, and they'll, ugh, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if they could figure spell, if there's someone needs to know where the bathroom is, yeah, I can mouth bathroom, but a lot of hearing people have a mental block too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your voice sounds weird. Why are you talking like that? Why are you talking to me? I just want to use the bathroom. Bathroom, like whatever. So they'll open up a little bit. You don't always, so deaf people don't always have to write. I think that the example of like sometimes hearing people are nasty to deaf people, they're rude. Like, it's a good comparison. Yeah, there might be some deaf people who will be rude, not good enough, slow, frustrated, whatever. But in every community, there's something like that. But for like the general, yeah, there will always be negative people in any culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any group of people, there's going to have the elite group. You'll have the trolls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You'll have people picking on and annoying other people, but yeah, don't take that personally.
And
yeah, if you can sign a little bit, it's slow, wonderful. It's worth it.
And you know what? And I'm glad I asked that question, but more importantly, I'm glad that you expounded upon that, because probably just like a typical hearing person, I was only thinking about the communication going one direction, right? I had not, in the moment at least, thought about the fact that like it's helpful to deaf people for us to be able to understand a little bit of finger spelling, right? So yeah, mind boggling. So even if like maybe I would annoy them, it still would be helpful if they could sign to me and I'm able to understand it and help in that way, or not just me, but like people in general. So yeah, glad I asked that, because I wasn't even thinking about that. Typical.
Okay, I might pull the big little sister thing and kick you off though soon.
Let me see. Let me see if we got any other questions.
There's one situation that still bugs me. I was grocery shopping one time. And I was looking for spices. So I saw a lady talking to me. I was like, oh, where something was, they were asking, and I couldn't understand her. I can't understand. And so I offered my phone. I had an app so she could just type. Sit here. Paprika. So I said, And she
Oh my
didn't want to
goodness.
touch my phone.
Oh my God.
It's like, ugh. I was like, okay. I could have helped her find something, but I couldn't understand what she was asking for, what she was trying to tell me. And if she could finger spell, I could have helped her.
Ugh, that's gotta feel dehumanizing, or like, no, well, let me not put words in your mouth, but like, I imagine that doesn't feel great, right? Like, I can imagine, or maybe it's something that you get used to. I don't know, but me, I'm frustrated on your behalf, right? Like, that's the type of thing that makes me want to like cuss somebody out. But then it also reminds me, like, oh yeah, we have more work to do. It's not just a matter of getting people to learn ASL. We've got some work to do beyond that. We've got to get people to get their minds right in other ways. We got work to do. Oh, good question. Kimmy, you might know the answer to this one. And again, whenever you guys need to go, all good. Let's see. So this is a question from Tanya D or Destiny B. What are some apps that we can use? And I'm assuming that they mean, well, actually, let me not assume. I don't know if you mean for learning ASL or for communicating with folks with ASL in ASL, or not in ASL, but communicating with deaf folks. Because I think Sandy just mentioned one, right? Where you can use to communicate. Like, for example, I have an app called.
That was just her notes app that she was using to.
Okay, because what I was about to say is I have an app on my phone called Be My Eyes, right? And I think I've only used it a couple times, but it's somebody with vision loss or somebody who's blind can bring up the app, use the app, and point at whatever it is, and then have me tell them what the camera is pointing at, right? Like, I'm looking for the 2% milk in my fridge. Which one is the 2%? And I'm able to tell them. Or, hey, I have these two ties. Which one goes with the shirt that I'm wearing? So I know that there's that app for folks with vision loss, for blind folks. Is there any such apps like that with deaf folks, or is it just like the Notes app type thing? Or oh, and Tanya D said both for learning ASL, but also for communicating in real time.
For learning ASL, there's something called ASL app. The ASL app. We can also, I was gonna say we can add it later.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna suggest. Because one day I just went to my Play Store on my phone. Like, I have a bunch of ASL apps on here, and some of them are better than others. Which is why I did not answer the question myself. Right? I would love to hear from somebody who actually knows ASL proficiently, to say like which one is better for learning. I will say that there are. Timmy and I have talked about this. The best way to learn ASL is from a deaf person if you can. And then I usually say the second best is like either a coda or somebody who has grown up in the deaf community who can teach you about deaf culture and deaf history as well, not just sign language, as opposed to just learning from any random hearing person. I started learning again with an organization out of Canada called Queer ASL, and they're really awesome. They pay their all of their instructors are deaf or hard of hearing, and are instructors, like actual certified instructors, educators. And again, they teach you about deaf culture. You can go from 101 all the way to conversational storytelling, however far you want to go. And then if you want to go to interpreting, they kind of help you go that route as well. And so I would just say, yeah, we can definitely do some work on the back end to put together a list. And then also, if you can, if you have the time, because places like Queer ASL, they also do like a sliding scale. So if you don't have the funds or whatever, you can either donate so that somebody else can take it for free, or you can get a scholarship or something like that. And then again, they pay their instructors a living wage, and all of their instructors are deaf, and they teach you about deaf culture, history, and the language, like the whole thing, not just sign.
They do. I know. It's not an app, but the website is also on YouTube. Life
Life print.
Print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill
And
Vickers. Is that
then
Bill's?
yeah, Dr. Bill Vickers. And then also the other one I use is Hand Speak.
Oh yeah.
And both of those they have
Yeah.
dictionaries and also lessons like ASL lessons and stuff for free, has culture and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with that. The other thing I was gonna say is, I know that a lot of people, just from having conversations with other hearing people, a lot of people can be like very intimidated, right? To start learning ASL. I will say, don't let that stop you, right? I think the biggest hurdle, at least from my perspective, is retaining it and continuing, like continue on practicing, getting the courage to practice once you start learning. Because of course you're going to learn the grammar. The grammar is different, your grammar, your syntax, your history, the culture, of course. And then from there, it's a matter of practicing. And so it can seem really intimidating because it can seem like this huge jump, but don't let that stop you from trying to learn. Because I find that most people, once they start, they kind of see, I won't say that they see how easy it is, but that sort of fear and intimidation starts to dissipate, and it gets fun and it gets exciting, and you find yourself able to communicate with more deaf people, and that can be really encouraging. And so don't let that like stop you. And again, if anybody wants to practice, if you guys want to start learning ASL, not only are there groups where you can practice, I'm always available. Hop on Discord. I am also currently learning Hindi and Punjabi right now. So I'm always down to learn a language. I love languages. You guys know I'm a language nerd. So if anybody wants to do that, we can make that happen. We can do it.
So
There's resources. You just got to find them, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, okay. So I'm gonna kick you off. You have an early morning, unless like last thoughts, anything. I'll share some resources. You know how to contact me.
Yeah, we can always have you back too. We would love to have you back. Whether it's to answer some more questions, because that's another thing that I find is that when people don't know a lot about a community, they can be sort of scared and intimidated to ask questions. So not only do I really appreciate you being open and asking these questions, because as I always say, don't assume that everybody has the spoons to educate you. Not everybody wants to be an advocate. Not everybody wants to be an advocate, an activist, and an educator. And so I'm always immensely grateful for folks who will give us their time, their intellectual labor, their emotional labor, their energy, their spoons to educate us, to help us be better humans. So I'm really grateful for that. And whenever you're ready to come back, we'll make it happen. And we'll promote it ahead of time. We'll get some questions ahead of time. And so we can do a lot more Q&A type stuff if you're down for it.
Sounds great.
Nice.
What she need to do for the recording? Just like I'll take her off the stage, but leave it open, right?
Yeah, but it actually is already uploading, so she probably only has to leave it up for a couple of minutes. I'll check on my phone right now just to see, because it's probably almost done actually. So just have her leave her, Sandy, just leave your browser open for a couple minutes, and it'll finish uploading.
Okay. Good night. Oh yeah, I'm gonna. Okay. I don't have to wake up early.
Me neither. I had to wake up early today because I had a doctor's appointment with my asshole of a doctor. Oh, her Sandy's upload is actually complete, so she can actually close it whenever.
Oh,
Told you it's
I'll
almost done.
message her.
Yeah, it says it's complete, so she's good. All right, so let's see what questions we missed. I definitely appreciate y'all's question. I appreciate y'all being respectful. I usually don't have to worry too much about that. Let's see what we got.
I'm gonna keep signing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Makes sense to me. Let's see. Upside Down says, I welcome it. I love language. There is nothing different to me between ASL and a spoken word. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you mean that literally. I think you mean like in terms of like value and importance and like things like that. But yeah. Tanya D says, I appreciate all of Sandy's insight. Same. As I was saying, for those who joined us a little bit later, I was saying I learned some things, and it's not that I'm like super shocked that I learned some things, but like I think maybe I'm surprised by the things that I learned, like the football huddle, right? The fact that that came from deaf football players not wanting the other team to see their plays, and so they started huddling up, so that they could sign to each other. And then now every football team does that, right? Like it's just a thing. It's a huddle, like you huddle up. I think that's genius. Um, and it doesn't surprise me because a lot of things come from marginalized communities that end up going mainstream, but we members of those marginalized communities or those marginalized communities do not always get credit for those things. Okay, yes, we got that. What are some apps we can use? Oh my God, rude. I think this was about, I saw this come in when Sandy was talking about the situation in the grocery store where I think somebody was asking her for help and she was trying to help them. And
Yeah,
they were like, I
yeah.
don't want to touch your phone. And they're being all weird about it. Weirdos. Upside Down says, agreed. We have so much work to do as human beings. ASL is a good start. We only have each other to lean on. Do you really want to exclude someone from your life because of a language barrier? I don't. Well said. Like, couldn't have said it better. That's how I feel. And I also, this is why it's mind boggling to me when children grow up and hearing families and nobody in their family takes the time or energy to learn sign language. Like the child is learning it by themselves or at school or whatever, but they make the child, write things down, or they don't really have a great relationship. And then they wonder why the child doesn't have a relationship. It's just mind boggling. And the point that I'm making is like language should never be a barrier, right? Not for people that we care about. It's just bananas to me.
And it's crazy to me. I am so grateful and lucky. And I learned later in life that most families don't learn to sign because I grew up signing.
Yeah.
And if not, like, the selfish, like, thinking about me moment, I wouldn't have the relationship I have with my sister. And you guys saw, she's so awesome. I grew up with that as a older sister and a second mom and now a best friend. And I wouldn't have had that without sign language.
Like, can you imagine? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't, that will never compute to me. Right. Like, and I think, and there may be like a couple valid excuses out there. I can't think of any right now, but maybe there are a couple of valid excuses out there for one parent or one or two family members not learning. But I know, one reason I've been an advocate for so long for sickle cell, which a lot of people even in the sickle cell community are often surprised to hear about, is because the moment I was diagnosed, so I was diagnosed at 2 days old. So my mom knew while she was pregnant with me that I might have it, that there was a 25% chance I might have it. And then I was diagnosed at 2 days old, and she immediately started learning everything she could possibly learn. And at the time, internet was not popping. Okay. I'm kind of old. So that means she had to go to libraries and friends and support groups and ask doctors. But she did what she needed to do to learn so that she could not only take care of me, but be my advocate. And then that's why I started doing advocacy work in the 3rd grade at 7 years old. Like, I cannot imagine having a child or having even somebody in my family and not trying to learn ASL. Like, I get like maybe there's again, like if there's, intellectual or cognitive issues, that's different. But we're talking about for the typical person, it is just, I just don't think that there's any excuse for you to be raising a deaf child and not learn sign language. Not okay. That's something that I would want to do for friends, right? Like if I had a best friend or a close friend, like I would just be on it. That's how I ended up like really pushing to learn Hindi, right? Like had a friend who had a better grasp of Hindi than English. And so like, okay, let me do better about I just anyways, I don't want
Yeah.
to be on my
Well,
soapbox.
and people, you hear all the time, like people will get in relationships, and if the other person is Spanish or French or whatever, they'll learn that language,
Yep.
but they'll raise their children with that language and culture so important. But yeah.
Well, I wonder how often it happens with Americans, because very often I will see, even if you think about the show, what's it called? 90 Day Fiance, but like 90 Day the other way, where they move from the US to whatever country their partner is in, and will make no effort to learn the language of the land. What? And these be the same people who want and expect people who come to the US to learn English. So I wonder like how much that is like American mentality, that we have this like sense of entitlement, that like, because I still see some couples, very often the person is white, but anyways, I still very often will see situations where, okay, mind if I had an interracial marriage and we had kids and we wanted our kids to learn, my partner's native language, you better believe I'm also learning that language. You better believe there's no way I'm gonna be sitting at the dinner table with my family. They're all speaking whatever language and I'm just here speaking English. What? What are we saying? What are we doing? So I wonder how much of that is like American mentality, that like, but I do think it happens more with other languages, where they will learn the other spoken language, but not, maybe not ASL. Because I see it. There's a couple creators out there, couples who there's a deaf one and a hearing partner, and the hearing partner is not learning sign language. I'm not saying ASL because they're actually not American, but whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, wait, I think I missed this one. Oh no, we got that one. Okay, just me and D says, I agree. I've seen kids light up when I ask them their name and tell them mine, along with the few words I know. Absolutely. I've seen it every time. I've seen it when I was a pharmacy tech in Delaware, no less. Believe it or not, I was a pharmacy tech in Delaware. Um, and this was, I was much closer to college, so my signing was way better than it is now. And I just remember like the patient not wanting to leave. Like we ended up like just sliding over so that and he was like teaching me new signs, and like he would come in and like look for me, right? Like he would be like, and like they'd be like, "Oh, I can help you," and he's like, "Where's the other? She's not here today," right? Like every time I've had an Uber driver and I've said a couple signs there. Same thing with Hindi, right? Or Punjabi, where people are just really really appreciative and grateful, and usually very surprised when Americans make an effort. So yeah, I agree with you, just me, MD. Um, yeah, yes. What we just said, just me, MD says, I believe most are appreciative of the efforts to include, or at least the courtesy. Yeah, and I think that's what it's about, right? Is inclusion. Like if we really think about it and we really really get down to like the bottom line, that's really what it's about. It's about inclusion. It's about decency and respect, and like letting people know with our actions and not just our words, no pun intended, that like they are worth the effort, that they are worth, that they deserve, that they deserve to be able to use their native language or their spoken language, or whatever. It to me, it does come down to like human decency and like putting in the effort and at least trying. Nobody's expecting you to be perfect or to become fluent overnight, or ever, but God, the effort. People are worth so much more than our actions show sometimes. Yeah, Upside Down says, to Just Me MD, yes, they feel inclusion, which we all struggle to feel. It's so easy to start learning. I completely agree. Couldn't have said that better. It does feel inclusive. Um, I know like the couple times where, and I keep going back to sickle cell because that's the main thing that I'm familiar with, right? That's my main experience. But very rarely does somebody know what sickle cell is. But oh boy, when they do, and they can tell me about it, right? Usually they will start with, I have a cousin who has it. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, cool, cool. And then if they actually know some things about it, mind blown. It's amazing. Um, it's pretty cool. So I agree. It is about inclusion. Let's see. Upside Down says definitely would love another session. Yeah, so that'd be cool if we could have like a little Q&A. And y'all, Kimmy and I were talking about this because again, for those of y'all who missed this started off with a conversation between Kimmy and I think we were just having like a general meeting, and then I don't even know how it came up, but I remember telling Kimmy about the lawsuit from the ACLU. So for those of you who missed the beginning of the stream, ACLU Delaware was threatening to sue to take away or prevent deaf children from having
It was
access
a it was
to
a
ASL.
it was a complaint. They did a complaint against the Delaware Department of Education. I think it's called an OCR or something, but like asking the federal government, saying, "Hey, please investigate this Department of Education because they're discriminating." So it wasn't they didn't sue them.
They didn't sue, but the ACLU
But
was involved. The ACLU was involved, and they were threatening. And so
what was the
this might
complaint? Yeah.
so this might not have been what happened, but I'm just telling you how it came to me. And this is actually, we posted it on our story. So if you go to Black and Sick on IG, we posted the story that I first heard about, right? And it was that was what the story was about, that the ACLU was threatening to sue, whether, they did not end up suing, right? Ended up just being a complaint. But the threat was, hey, we're going to take legal action to try to and when I say it, it just sounds so bonkers that, which was the experience that I had when I saw the post. I was like, oh, he must be getting it wrong. And it wasn't because I doubted him. It just was so it just was so mind-boggling that I thought, there's no way. This doesn't make sense. Why would they be trying to keep deaf children from using I just didn't understand. And so when I went and Googled and looked it up, and I found out, no, that's actually what was happening. They had a problem. Some people had a problem with deaf children using sign, or saying that there were too many deaf children in deaf schools. Think about that sentence, right? Like, too many deaf children in deaf schools, and trying to prevent them from using sign language because they want them to use listening and spoken language, or, what do they call it? Auditory and whatever they called it. Whatever they tried to rebrand.
Well, I know the complaint specifically said LSL, but the other one is.
Yeah, but remember on the website how they changed it? They were like, no, we're not doing that. Actually, we're going to push for, and it was just literally like a synonym for it. Remember, it was like auditory and something, the rebrand.
So, yeah, afterwards,
Uh-oh. I think you froze. Somebody froze. Is it me or is it Kimmy? I think I don't want to assume, because last time it was me. I didn't think it was me, and last time it was me that had froze. But I think Kimmy froze. So, oh, okay, yeah. Power went out. And it came right back. Okay, so that Kimmy just froze. Okay. The point is, you had some people who were not deaf, who were not part of the deaf community, doing some things they had no business doing, getting into deaf folks' business without including deaf folks. And that is always a problem, right? It goes back to inclusion. So the point that I was making is that that's what sparked this whole thing, where I ended up telling Kimmy about it, and Kimmy was like, what? What are you saying? What is happening right now? I was like, girl, look it up. And we ended up talking, we ended up being on that chat for like 4 hours, or a little bit longer. And I was like, we need to talk about this. Like, we need to let people know, because I don't think people are realize that this is happening, right? And a lot of times I find this stuff out just because I'm following so many advocacy communities, which is what we talked about last week, right? Which is broaden your horizons. If you're always on social media, follow some different people on social media. If you want to learn ASL, follow a bunch of people who use ASL, who teach sign. Last week we mentioned a few people signing with Nicole, and there's Kobe Sewell, and there's Raven, who was on Netflix's The Circle, and a bunch of other people. And you can follow educators, right? But it's also helpful to just follow people who sign. Like, if they're making content where they're signing, for example, there's a deaf family. I think the parents are deaf and all the children are deaf, and so in all of their content they sign. And I follow a number of families and people like that. Like, just immerse yourself in it. And that's how I heard about it, right? Like, I just happened to be on social media one day, and I came across the post and I was like, this is bananas. What the hell is happening? So, and I was saying all that to say, if there's any other community, any other topic you guys want to talk about, because we plan to continue to do this, right? We just started with the deaf and hard of hearing community because of this issue, but there's also some other communities that we want to tap into, whether it's like chronic illness. For example, people with like lupus or sickle cell, like lupus and sickle cell are really closely related. There's a lot of similarities there. And so we want to talk about that because a lot of people they're just unaware. They're just unaware. And we just don't want to underestimate the power of like awareness and things like that. Like, yeah. So if there's anything else y'all want to talk about, we definitely want to have Sandy back for like a Q&A session, straight up Q&A session. But if there's anything else y'all want to discuss, if y'all don't know, Tanya D has a podcast, and I was binging Tanya D's podcast. Okay. And not only did I learn a lot about Tanya D, but it got me thinking about some other things, like cancer and like breast cancer. And so now I'm thinking about those things and like, man, that might be a topic that we need to cover. Not like cancer in general. I think a lot of people are doing that because we definitely want to focus on some like lesser known, but the topic of maybe like cancer in younger people, right? Because there's a number of creators who I follow who have been diagnosed with cancer pretty young. And I think a lot of people think of cancer as like a thing that kids get, like little kids get, like maybe leukemia, and then like a lot older folks. Like there's folks in their teens, like 20s, 30s, 40s. A lot of people aren't thinking about that. But it might be time that we start thinking about it, especially us as Black folks, right? There are a number of things that impact us at greater rates than the average person, or like maternal mortality rates, things like that. So yeah. All right, let's see. Tiny D says, and Tiny D's podcast is called The T Side. It's on Spotify. You can check it out anywhere. You can check out podcasts. I highly recommend. It's really dope. There was a really dope episode about music that I really enjoyed. Got me kind of back to my music roots. So that was dope. So the T Side podcast, if you guys want to check out that, highly recommend. Tiny D says, it seems like you would just pick up on it if you're around someone that uses ASL. That's how I feel, but I guess I don't know if that's the case for everybody. I know that's how it is for me, right? Like that's how I started learning Hindi on accident. I was watching a bunch of Bollywood films. I was in a really super depressive state after having been sick, and I'd seen like every Bollywood film on Netflix, just watching nothing but Bollywood films, Bollywood. And I realized like, oh, I'm picking up language. I'm picking up, learning words like Zindagi, like one of the first words I realized I learned. And I was like, oh, snap. So that's kind of how I feel. Like, I feel like you can't really immerse yourself. I always use this example with like white supremacy and things like that, where you can't, English speaking country and not pick up English. And that's kind of how I feel about ASL. So I'm agreeing with you that like, I would think in general, you would sort of pick up on it if you're around it, which goes back to my point of like, immerse yourself in it, follow creators who use sign language, get in those spaces. Big agree. Welcome back.
The electricity for my entire house went off and then on again. And my computer decided it's a good time for an update before starting again.
Nice.
So,
nice. Gotta love that.
Love it. But
yeah.
In response to that, you definitely just pick up on it when you're around it, get used to it. People will ask me like, when did I learn sign? And again, like I want to clarify, I'm especially with the SimCom when I'm like speaking and
I was just about to say, I don't
signing.
know
It's not, I'm not using proper ASL. Don't use me to learn, obviously. But I'm able to communicate with deaf people in the community, and the answer to like, when did I learn it? It's like asking, when did that person learn English or whatever their first language is? I grew up bilingual, so
yeah. Upside Down says you do. To Tiny D, I find it's like any other language. The more contact, the better your ability. Big agree.
Yeah, and there's also you can look up there's a lot of deaf events. Like a lot of times they're called silent like dinners or silent lunches. A lot of times they're at malls where you have the ability to go and practice, and it's understood that people are going to practice and be with the deaf community. Just make sure if you're entering a deaf space to use like proper manners. Like, yeah, so voice off.
Yeah.
You're immersing yourself, learning, practicing. If you don't have one like nearby, not able to go, there's a lot of practice groups you can find like on the
There's
web.
someone on
So
Meetup.
there's so many options. Meetups.
There's
a
some
lot.
Discords.
It's possible.
There's some servers. Yeah. There's several on Discord, on meetup.com. There's also a Meetup app. Absolutely. And like I said, Queer ASL is another one where they do like video. They have their own groups or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We're gonna get through these last few comments and then get on out of here. Just Me MD says, I agree at Upside Down and Smalls about the exclusion of loved ones because we don't take the time to learn their language. Yeah. Like I said, I'll never understand that. That's bananas to me. And I will say, just to add on to what Kimmy says, agree 100% with what she's saying. And I will say, and maybe you need to know a little bit of ASL. I don't know. Kim, you can kind of tell me what you think about this, because I know for me, even watching somebody use SEE, which is, signing exact English, right? Or pidgin, or, whatever you want to call it, where they're not using the correct ASL grammar. Even that helps with vocabulary, right? So like I was saying, just watching Kimmy and her sister, Kimmy and Sandy, sign, I was surprised by how much I remembered, the vocabulary, right? And so even if I missed a word here or there, I was able to still kind of get a gist of what was happening because, the vocabulary. And the more I saw it, the more I'm remembering it, and the more I'm like committing it to memory and things like that. And so once you get past a certain point, and this is the case for most languages, right? Once you get past a certain point, it's just like adding vocabulary. It's just adding to your lexicon. So yeah. Let's see. Okay. Upside Down says at Just Me MD, exactly. What's sad is we put it all on the deaf and hard of hearing to learn lip reading. How ridiculous. Entitlement is stunning. Child, I cannot I cannot tell you how much I agree with this. I'm sure y'all already know just based on what I've said so far. But yeah. And if you notice, like, even I had that moment where I wasn't even thinking necessarily about, I was thinking like a hearing person, right? Where I was thinking, oh, well, is how beneficial really is finger spelling, because the person might get annoyed that I'm finger spelling really slowly, or and I'm not thinking like, oh, well, it would actually be helpful for them, like, it would make it so that the burden is not always on the deaf or hard of hearing person. Like, how much would it be beneficial if I understood? Maybe I don't sign that well, but I understand more than I can sign, right? Even that is helpful. And so, yeah, I think we always have to sort of question ourselves and check ourselves, and make sure we're decentering ourselves when necessary, and making sure that we're not putting the burden and the onus on the marginalized group, and in this case, deaf or hard of hearing community. Yeah, big agree. Let's see, what am I missing? Oh man, there's a lot more comments than I realized. Okay, hold on. Let me go back. I'm gonna try to go through these. Okay.
You got that one.
I did. I'm trying to see where I stopped, because like when you hover over them, you can't see them anymore, and so I'm trying to. It's messing me up. Okay, let's start here. About a year ago, Just Me MD says, about a year ago, I found myself going through the ASL alphabet when I hit a level of stress, and it's soothing. Good point. That's dope. Yeah. I do that with Hindi. So you can learn Hindi on Duolingo. And even when I'm not like in the headspace to progress, I will still, not only to keep my streak, but I will still just go through the alphabet and I will go through the vowels. And like, it's sort of, I don't want to say mindless, right? But I'm like, I don't know, it just kind of helps with my anxiety in a lot of ways. The same way that I use my Nintendo Switch, where I'm just like maybe playing solitaire, something that I don't have to do a lot of thinking on. I find the same is true with English. I mean, with languages. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Just me MD says thank you to Sandy. Oh, somebody else. This is true for somebody else. Okay, cool. Upside Down says to Just Me MD, same. The alphabet is a great stress reliever for me too. I still do it. That's dope. That's dope. Okay. Okay, let me see. What have I not got? My migraines are so debilitating that my dad, a 98-year-old grandmother, is also reading up on the illness and treatments in order to be migraines. That's, you know what? That's true, because I don't think most people understand what migraines really are. I think people think migraines are just really bad headaches. And I think even some people who will like claim they have migraines they'll be like, "Oh, I had a migraine," but like describe none of the symptoms right, or be like, "Oh, I had a migraine, but I was over here at this rave," and I'm like, "What? You sure you had a migraine? You sure?" My point is, I think that is something that needs more awareness too. I had a friend in childhood, and this is how I realized very early on that migraines are not just severe headaches. Um, I had a child. I had a lot of sleepovers as a kid, and a friend of mine had a migraine while she was at my house, and she threw up like she was in so much pain. Like some of this, like we had to keep the lights off. She threw up. Like it was bad. It was bad. And so I think that's something that also needs more awareness. I don't think a lot of people know how debilitating they can be. And I've heard a lot of people say, I tell my job, "Oh, I have a migraine." They say, "Well, can you still come in?" If I had like a teammate or a coworker or I remember Kimmy one time being like, "I have a migraine coming on," right? And I was like, "Oh, well, that's no." She was like, "I'm gonna need 30 minutes," and I was like, "No, no, 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 no." Like, if your migraine is even half as severe as the people that I know, no, we're not giving you 30 minutes for your medicine to kick in. Like, you're going to go sit down, lay down, and take care of it. And I don't think a lot of people realize how debilitating they can be. And it's bananas that somebody would say, "Can you still come into work?" No, they can't. Love that. So supportive, Just Me MD. And at 98, I want to be your grandma when I grow up. Let's see. Just Me MD says, I agree, Smalls. We are the only country that does not fully support dual languages and get angry when going to another country and not finding someone to speak English. Another example is yeah, 1000% agree. Now, what's funny is that when I went to India, I thought I was going to be able to practice my Hindi, and all they wanted to do was practice their English. So I do find that sometimes where I go there and I'm trying to use the local language, and they're like, "American, you speak English?" And that's all they want to speak is English. But you will have some who will let you practice their Hindi, like let you speak the Hindi or speak the language, and they will practice their English back. Which reminds me, there are some apps where you can do that. I will try to try to remember the name of it or try to find it. But it's like a talking app. Like you can send voice notes back and forth. You can video chat. And it's like say for example, you're trying to learn Hindi and the other person who speaks Hindi is trying to learn English, and you guys can kind of partner up and practice in written or voice notes and things like that. And I find that to be really helpful as well. So I'll try to remember that and include it in the resources that we post. But yeah, we got to get that entitlement together. Americans are wild, yo. Destiny B says I have to head out, but this has been great. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Appreciate you. Kimmy is frozen. Yeah, I wish I had seen this when I was trying to figure out if it was Kimmy, if it was me. I was like, oh god, my thing messed up again. Tiny D says, if you haven't, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button so you can catch the next conversation with Sandy and other great conversations. Hell yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you for that reminder, because I do be forgetting. So thank you for that. If you have not already hit the like button, go ahead and hit that for us. We would deeply appreciate it. Help finesse the algorithm. We're also gonna clean this one up because we had some tech difficulties in the beginning, so this will also be available for replay with captions. Okay. Just Me MD says, to Upside Down, she is awesome and sharp. I really appreciate her heart to love me enough to stay on top of what I'm dealing with. I think that comment was about her grandma helping her with the migraines, the debilitating migraines. Hope things get easier for you. Your support is everything. Give Grams a squeeze for me. I'm a fan. Exactly. So see, I'm still Tanya D. Yeah. Yep. Always gonna be Tanya D. Always. All right. Upside Down says, "Oh my God, Kimmy, go big or go home." I think that was around the time
I
when you.
am home. The problem is my home with I don't know what.
Your home, the power at your home said that. The power at your home was like, you know what, we out.
My home, like I'm home, and the power said it's gotta go. I don't know, man. And the fact that in the beginning, the very first problem we had with the tech was the mic issues for Sandy.
I was just about to say that. It's just ironic, y'all. Like we be having, like y'all just don't know. Like I don't know if y'all familiar with Murphy's Law, but it's like the idea that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's like the story of my life. That used to happen a lot when I was on tour, like with my band. Like we would do sound checks, like everything would be great, it would be perfect, and then something would happen. Like it just never failed. I will never forget this one time we were performing at this church event, and we had this new song, and we were so excited about the song because it was like a full arrangement. I still to this day love this song, and we had sound checked, we had done everything we were supposed to do, the volumes was great, the levels was right, and when it came time for showtime, the person handling the sound accidentally had the volume all the way down. I mean, like all the way down to the point where he was like, "I don't know what's wrong. I'm hitting play. It's playing. I don't know." And we're just standing there looking at each other like, "Oh my God." And then he figures it out. And then he turns up the sound. Mind you, the backing track has now started and we don't know where it has started. So we have to sort of just jump in and we're like, "Oh my God." And for those of you who, don't know, your backing track, even if you're playing with a live band, if you have a backing track, sometimes it will have ad libs on it, right? And so if you start in the wrong place, those ad libs will not be in the right place. So we just kind of were like, all right, well, we're going to jump in and see what happens. And when we found out that we were in the right spot because the ad libs came on perfectly, I think somebody has a video of this. I'm going to try to find the video. We all were like, I was still on the mic going, and we were like, oh my God, I don't know. That the point is, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's like the story of my life. So the fact that Sandy's mic went wrong, my stuff was perfectly fine. Everything was working fine. And the minute Kimmy said, okay, we're ready, I get on here and my shit shuts down. That's what happened earlier. That, no lie, it was bananas. I didn't hear her podcast name, Smalls. I've been trying to find you for weeks without success, and for some reason it popped up on my feed tonight. Oh, nice. So Tanya's podcast is called The T Side, kind of like the B side of an album, but the T side, which I thought was pretty clever. And like I said, it's on Spotify, it's on a few other places, and it's really short. Each episode is like 30 minutes. So for those of you who are used to longer podcasts, it's, or, you have ADHD or some other neurodivergent thing, you can actually get through them pretty quick. And they're really awesome. She has really great insight about a lot of different things. So I do highly recommend. And I'm not somebody who recommends a lot of stuff. Like, I'm very particular about what I recommend. So, yep, have been to deaf dance parties. They're awesome. Yep. A lot of people don't know that deaf folks listen to music, dance, have dance parties, concerts, go to concerts. I remember I won't tell that story. I had subwoofers in my car. I had two 12-inch subwoofers in my car. And so when you played the music, you could feel it. And I will just say, deaf and hard of hearing people really, really appreciate that. They appreciate bass.
My instrument growing up was the drums. So Sandy would like sit.
That's dope. I tried playing the drums. I started with trumpet and tried to switch to drums. I don't have enough coordination for that. Like I can't make my right hand do something at the same time as my left. Or it has to be, I can't, I mean, they can't do two different, I can't do it. So I had to go back to the trumpet. I admire folks who can do percussion. Let's see. Tina says, I've also been learning Hindi on Duolingo. Dope. That's dope. That's dope. I want to learn Punjabi. Oh God, I cannot believe I just said Punjabi. Oh my God, I hate the way that sounds. Punjabi. I want to learn Punjabi as well. I'm trying to learn it. It's just a lot right now. A lot. Luckily, there are a lot of similarities between Urdu, Hindi, and Punjabi, but the script is so different. The Gurmukhi and Hindi script, and oh, they're just so different. It's so different. Let's see. Upside Down says about the deaf dance parties. They're so cool. It's like walking to any other club. Yep, they are really cool. They also said agreed. Smalls migraines are different animals. Yeah, they are different beasts.
If I catch mine early enough, then depending on the reason, I can like get ahead of it. But have you heard of cluster headaches?
Yep.
Woo!
Yep.
I haven't had many, but
yeah, I have a friend that gets them, and she was also how I learned just how debilitating they could be. Like I knew they were bad, but I don't think I realized that they could be like shut you down bad. Like don't talk to me, turn the lights off, don't breathe on me, like don't touch me, like I just kind of like want to cease to exist for a moment type debilitating. I didn't know they could be that bad. Same thing with cluster headaches. So yeah. Americans get angry when Latin Americans or migrants are bilingual. Don't throw ignorant shade on those you should learn from. Yeah, I think it's so, I don't know if ironic is the right word, but it's just so fascinating when like Americans who only speak one language get frustrated with people for not having perfect English, but you only speak one language. What are we doing? Stop talking. Like I leave it to Americans. Okay. Last few comments. They do. Migraines and headaches are totally different. Mine are so debilitating. I have a caregiver. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Because I know like if my sickle cell flare up gets too bad, like if I can't walk, I can't walk. Like there are times as a child where I had to crawl to the bathroom or, my dad or my mom would have to like help me like move. Like I could not move. Like you couldn't even touch my skin type debilitating. And so I can only imagine like, and I've had a sickle cell crisis in my face, right? So for folks who get migraines will understand this. But if not, then folks who have either given childbirth naturally or been in labor will understand this, or if you've had a heart attack, because they say that sickle cell pain is more severe than that. Imagine having it in your face, like your face being like that, in that much pain. So I can only imagine that that's similar to migraines, but I still think migraines are worse in that like you have all these other symptoms. It's not just pain. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that migraines are not just pain. Like it's a whole host of symptoms. Like, and like I said, it can be so bad that people are like throwing up and like having a hard time breathing and like have what's called referred pain, where you feel it in other parts of your body. And like, child, I don't want it. Upside Down says, adjust me, MD. So sorry you have to deal with that pain. Yeah. That was a lucky space to hit. Let me see. The T Side podcast. Yep, Tina. Thank you for that. I think that's it. Smalls, I know, right? One language and not well. Right. And I think it's ironic because most native English speakers don't even speak English that well. They do not even have that great of a grasp on the English language. I mean, like most native speakers, you're lucky if you speak and write with it like an 80% proficiency level, right? Like it'll be folks in the comments who will say things like, that's not grammatically correct. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, I think the word you're looking for is grammatical, but you wouldn't know that. Like, you don't even know that the word is grammatical. And here you are talking about grammatically correct. You're trying to correct somebody and you're not even. This is what happens when you're a language nerd, right? And luckily I don't correct people anymore because somebody kind of brought it to my attention that can be classist. It can be like elitist, which I agree with. You never know where somebody's coming from. So you want to be mindful of like correcting people unless they ask for it, But yeah, it's amazing like how often I see somebody correcting somebody or doing the like your with the asterisk and they're like, and I'm like, and you're still incorrect. Like you still don't even have it that right. So bye. Anyways, that's it. Just Me MD says, how many languages do you speak, Smalls? Ooh, okay. Uh, so I always say my native language, my native tongue is AAVE, as well as English, and then Spanish, Hindi, and I'm still learning these. So I think Spanish is the one that I know mostly, besides AAV and English. Spanish is the one I know mostly, and then ASL and Hindi are kind of about the same ish. I'm on the same level. Maybe ASL a little bit more just because I've been learning it more, and I think it's just a little bit more that I need a refresher as opposed to like learning from scratch. Hindi, and then I want to start learning Punjabi. Did I get it all? I think that's it. I think that's it. So English, AAVE, Spanish, ASL, and Punjabi would be the fifth. Yeah. I would say my main fluency though would be AAV and English. That's it. Anybody else? Anybody else speak multiple languages in here besides Kimmy? I know Kimmy's bilingual. Anybody? Any
Well,
other
I
polyglots in
also
here?
I understand more than I can speak of Spanish and like
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of Korean.
Mm.
Um,
Yo, anybody who speaks or understands any East Asian languages, I give you East English, East A. I can't even talk. East Asian languages and Arabic. My God, those are complicated even for me. And I think like I have an affinity for languages. I'm good with languages, and those are you working with some brain cells up there. If you that's mm-hmm. So yeah, if you and I think that's true for most a lot of people. I think it's beneficial. I have the advantage of growing up in the Bay Area, so my neighbor across the street that it was a Mexican family, and then I had a Filipino family, and now I'm in a Latino neighborhood, and so I hear Spanish all the time. Like my the ads, my YouTube ads are in Spanish, the commercials, my junk mail is in Spanish. Right around the businesses are in Spanish. We're 2 hours from the Mexico border, so when I say like everything is in Spanish, I mean like I'm immersed in Spanish, and that sort of sent my language proficiency of Spanish skyrocketing because yeah, immersion is really the best way to learn a language because that was, oh Lord. Oh my goodness, so many languages. Oh wow. Hold on. Sixica? What? Oh snap. Okay. I lied. I lied. Hold on, time out. So I said East Asian languages as well as Arabic. But there are a lot of indigenous languages. Oh my God. I admire y'all because those are some of the most beautiful languages. And like especially as like Americans, like if you don't have like the tongue for it, like I still have a hard time rolling my R's, right? But like there are some indigenous languages, some Native American languages. Oh man, they are so gorgeous. That it and I know I probably sound like a nerd because people don't understand what I mean when I say a language is beautiful, but like there are just some languages I love hearing and I love just hearing them spoken. And there are a number of native languages like that. Um, and I don't want to mess them up, so I'm not even gonna try, but beautiful. Um, yeah, aka Blackfoot. Give it a try. I don't have it all down since it was taken from my ancestors. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Tina says 5 languages. That's a polyglot. That's a polyglot. I'm trying to get there. I'm not proficient. I'm not an interpreter. I'm not a proficient. Like, don't send me into no life or death situation. Okay, I could probably handle a life or death situation, but I'm saying don't. I'm still working on it. Is what I'm saying. Upside down says I speak Spanish, German, French, and a little Chinese. Okay, so you're smart, is what you're saying. Got you, got you. You are a genius, is what I heard. That's what I read. So Upside Down said, I am a genius. That's what that comment says. German is another tough one to me. Um, it's interesting.
my niece is learning that because her father and
German.
like family. Yeah, because she's half German.
Mhm.
Um, and so she's been Duolingoing, and also I think she might practice it with her grandmother sometimes. I'm not sure.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Um, you guys are my happy mental checkout. That's dope. Thank you, Smalls. I appreciate that more than you. Absolutely. All right, I think that's it. I think that's it. I think we're good. We're gonna get out of here. Kimmy, thank you. Not only for the original conversation that we had about this topic, um, but also when I was struggling to figure out like how can we make this a black and sick thing? Like how I'm like we this is something that we were both passionate about, and I was like trying to figure out how to make it work, and you were like, well, we could just do this, and I was like, oh, we could just do this. Oh yeah. So thank you for that. I don't know if that made sense to anybody else, but Kimmy knows what I'm talking about. The point that is that I'm saying thank you for not only putting this episode together for us, for asking Sandy to come and grace us with her presence and impart some wisdom and knowledge onto us, but also for being passionate about advocacy work. There's a reason that we continue to work with Kimmy, and like y'all saw earlier when Tanya D and a couple other people were talking about Kimmy in the chat, which I wholeheartedly agree. Kimmy is also very passionate about advocacy, and I don't run across too many people that I can say that about, and so I'm always really grateful when I do, and when people are about that life, when they really walk the walk. So Kimmy, thank you for that. Thank you for putting together this episode.
I'm gonna like cut out that like little part of the video, and when I'm like sad or something, just like play it again and again. That was so sweet. Thank you. I'm
for sure.
happy and enjoy being a part of the team. And this was so fun. I'm so proud of my sister and so glad I was able to like show her off a little, and just this was awesome.
Yeah. Kimmy's been talking about her sister. That's how you can tell when somebody like really loves somebody or is really proud of them. Like they mention them all the time. They talk about them all the time, and not like in an annoying way where you're like, my kids, my kids, my kids, and you're like, nobody wants to hear about your little rugrat, right? Like not like that, but like in very relevant ways, right? And so I've heard about Sandy for a while now, and so I'm so glad I got a chance to meet her and to communicate with her, talk with her, and that we got to have her on the platform. So grateful for that. But yeah, everything we said was true. Hopefully, maybe you'll go back if you missed any of the comments, because I know you were talking to Sandy when some of those comments came up on the stream, came up on the screen. But yeah, we all think that. I just wanted to let the rest of the audience know that y'all know some about Kimmy, but I don't know if y'all know just how passionate she is, and just like how real she is about advocacy. And this is coming from somebody who's got like real high standards, real high expectations, and Kimmy's definitely there, meets and exceeds them on a regular basis when it comes to advocacy work. So, all right, we're out of here. Who said nose picker? What? Oh yeah, okay. Tina says, thank you, Kimmy. And then Upside Down says, thank you for this session. Kimmy never ceases to amaze us. Thank you, loves. Absolutely. Big agree. All right, y'all. Thank you, Kimmy. Any last words before we get on out of here?
I'm not saying no. Thank you again. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed doing this. Good night, everyone.
Y'all, yeah, if y'all don't know what Kimmy's talking about, I mentioned that every time I ask somebody, or every time you say any last words, did you want to say something? Most people will say no, and then start speaking. And so now I think we're all like mindful of that, right? Anyways, thanks y'all for joining us. Thank you for your time. You guys could have been anywhere, and you are right here, and you gave us a little bit of your time, and we really, really appreciate that. Go out, learn ASL. If y'all want to practice, if y'all want somebody to practice with, hit us up on Discord, the Black and Six server. Otherwise, we will catch y'all soon. You know what? Drop in the chat after this live stream ends. Leave a comment. Leave ASL rocks in the comment. ASL rocks or ASL is dope or something like that in the comments. All right. Appreciate y'all. We're out, y'all. Peace.